welcome everybody. Make sure, board members, your microphones are on so we can hear everybody. Nice and speak up good and loud so we can hear you also. And we have roll call tonight. Everybody's present. Everybody's absent. Then there's approval of the agenda. And do we have any additions or deletions on the agenda? Okay, everything looks good. And we're down to public comment. Linda.
On March 26th, someone from the board met with representatives of Washtenaw County and developers out somewhere in Ann Arbor to talk about pledging the county's full faith and credit for bonds for infrastructure in the USD. And I'd like tonight to have a report from whatever board member that was. I'd also like to know at what point the township determined that it would pledge its full faith and credit for those bonds, because before the county will agree to pledge its full faith and credit, the township has to. Thank you.
Okay. I do not recall any board member being out there. Were any of us out there?
Here, you
But,
said no.
well, I'm just saying, I wasn't there, and I'm trying to think who was out there other than the attorney. But actually, he'll be here, so we can ask him that question if you wouldn't mind waiting for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're thinking about doing some remodeling to the house next door. You ought to think about replacing these windows in this place here. They're bad. And it wouldn't cost a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, you spend money on other things, replace these windows.
Replacing?
Yeah, he wanted to replace it.
I wanted to replace the window in the middle.
Okay. We're going to talk about that tonight. It's on the agenda about some of the things that we want to do, so. Okay, anybody else? All right. I don't have any comments other than I'm glad the weather's nice, and now we're starting to get some nice weather, and well, a couple things have happened. I had some people ask questions about some of the a couple break-ins around the township, and some people kind of passed around. So just want to make sure people know that the incident that happened at one of the residents, when the break-in happened, people were actually in the home. That there has been questions about people, have they, did they find the people, and yes, they did. So there's been people saying that, they didn't catch them, they're still on the loose. But this actually happened right when the people were in their homes. So, people just try to make sure you keep your doors locked even when you're inside. They just left their doors open, and they just came walking in and had taken off, and but they did catch them. So just to kind of clear that up, and we'll go down to the consent agenda. So we have our clerk, Mr. Winsley.
All right, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of last month's, March 10th, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Also, the disbursements for March 2015 include checks for $78,740. These are checks 25,245 through 25,307. We had checks written to the escrow fund for $7,630, checks 1586 through 1589. We had a payroll of $53,307.50, with $182.50 going to Paycor to help us with that. The sewer fund, we had $136,993.32 to the sewer fund. These were checks 1943 through 1945. For the month of March 2015, we have invoices out of the general fund of $80,892.67. Out of the sewer fund, we have invoices for $9,709.42. We have invoices for the escrow account, $13,320.50. We also, in the board packet, you will see the official meeting dates for this coming fiscal year. And we have them on the second Tuesday of every month this year. Last year, we had to switch it for Veterans Day, but that's not an issue this year. So you'll see those listed. Item E, the official newspapers of record are the same as we have had. South Lyon Herald as a designated official newspaper, with Ann Arbor News used as a designated alternate. And finally, the official depositories for Salem Township, Comerica Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and in the financial institution called Michigan Class. So that is the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Mr. Conver seconds it. Any other questions on this consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I don't see Mr. Plato here yet, so we're going to come back to under administrative number 1, employee policy manual. Okay, and okay, so we're down to the administrative hiring. I move that Salem Township approve the promotion of temporary employee Barb Thompson to the office of staff position of administrative assistant 2, the starting compensation rate of $14 an hour, to commence April 15, 2015, with the following major job responsibility: administrative support for fire chief's fire department, support for the assessing department, the website, administrator, office counter, citizen assistance, optical scanning project support, temporary office fill for the executive departments, other tasks assigned by me. Barb has been with us for about 3 months now and been doing an excellent job in the office, and we appreciate her positive that she's brought to the office, and people enjoy working with her. Do we have a second on this?
I'll second it.
Reggie seconds. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we're down to the fun time of year. For Flag Day, I move that Salem Township approve resolution and grant the request of the Salem Community Events for utilizing the township complex at 9600 6 Mile and surrounding adjacent properties for annual Flag Day event scheduled June the 6th, 2015. Setup for the events will begin June 5th, cleanup on June 7th. In addition to utilizing the wastewater treatment plant site located at 7700 Salem Road for the annual Flag Day celebration fireworks on June 6th, 2015, with a rain date of June 13th. All necessary license and proofs have been provided. Also authorized by the supervisor to sign and issue the permit upon the approval of the township board. You have a second on this?
I'll second.
Discussion? This is our annual event, as everybody knows, and we, I know those that are on the committee have asked for support and help, that any of us can help, so board members, I would really like to encourage all of us to be present and our families helping anywhere we can, so this will be a fun event. Okay, John seconds. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. You're late, Mr. Plato. Okay. It's all right, he's, you see he's walking now.
I'm walking. I don't go as fast without my scooter.
All right, so, okay, so we're down to Mr. Wensley, the Corn Fest.
move that Salem Township approve the request of the Salem Bible Church to close McFadden Street on Saturday, August 15th, 2015, for the 19th Annual Salem Community Corn Fest between the hours of 10:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m., with the clerk to forward the necessary paperwork to the Washtenaw County Road Commission per Resolution 2015-04-14-02. Do we have a second on the Corn Fest?
I'll second it.
John seconds it. It's another annual thing that happens in our town, which is a lot of fun. If some of you haven't been there, a lot of good things. In fact, I forgot to mention a report of the auction at the Salem Historical Society. I think raised about $3,700 at their, I believe it was the end of March, at their auction, which was a great turnout, and they've done a lot of hard work on that, and it's a great thing. For those of you who've never been to it, it's a lot of fun. So all these fun things that are before us, just remember and put them on your calendars. So, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. All right, we're down to the phone system, Mr. Converse.
Okay, I move that Salem Township approve the bid from IBS Communications for voice over IP phone service in the amount of $200 per month with programming and initial installations at the cost of $2,070 for the attached quote.
Apologize. For G&M business.
I'm sorry, where are we at?
I'll support the motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. The second, we have some discussion on this?
Yes, just give you an update on what is transpiring and what we're doing here. Our present supplier for internet and phone services is TDS, and that bill, we have to sign a 5-year contract. The contract is up, officially up this month. Our bills have been averaging between $700 and $900 a month. And we, to say that we are happy with them is kind of a stretch, because we have had a lot of problems with them, especially in the last week or 2 weeks with the integration. They dropped Google and they went to their own internet system. We've lost emails, we've lost a lot of problems, of which they apologize, but they don't say that there was anything wrong with the way they did it. But we can go back in, and this contract is a month by month. It is not a long-term contract. If we wanted to move on to the TDS supplies the T1 line with a 1.5 meg capacity to it, to the township now. And this other one would basically be piggybacking off of the Charter internet service that we have now. And we have been assured by them that there will not be, the problem with a lot of voice over IP is if there's a lot of traffic on the hub, you can slow it down. They have workarounds around that, and they say that we should not be able to experience that. We did go out with another quote from another company that Tower Computer, our support people, included, and they came back with another T1 line, and it roughly was about the same cost as was TDS. This voice over IP service from IBS.com is presently being used by Ann Arbor Township. They've converted over to it. There's about probably maybe half of the townships here in the county have switched to it, and there's a lot of other county or townships that have switched over to this service as well. And from what we have found out, they're all very pleased with the service. So, having a $500 to $700 a month cost reduction, and we think that we're going to see an actual improvement in the services what we're having here. So I think and there's no long-term contract in it. If we wanted to go back with this other company or something else, it's just a phone call and a month away. So we're not bound by this long-term contract. The other TDS and the other contract were both 5-year contracts.
what's the savings?
About, it'd be roughly between 500 up, because our loan bill will, I've seen them anywhere from 700 and some odd dollars up to $900. So,
And email, they assure us our emails, because we just have been, actually been having trouble with our emails for the last, I would say, 2 weeks or so.
terrible.
We had to go through their program to even receive it, so.
And we've lost, my deputy lost almost all of her financial emails that she had. They disappeared, they didn't back them up, and they just, when they transferred them over, they're gone. And needless to say, we're not happy campers.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, so we're down to Mr. DeLuca on the lawn maintenance contract.
I move that Salem Township approve to waive the bid policy requiring three bids and renew the lawn maintenance service contract for 2015 to Ultra Unlimited Services at a cost of $3,350 per the bid proposal specifications, plus $35 for each weeding, and extend the contract for the following years as follows. 2016 for $3,400, 2017 for $3,450, and 2018 for the amount of $3,500. And then if the average price of gas exceeds $4 per gallon, as tracked by the AAA between the months of April through September, an additional 1% will be added to the annual cost.
Support.
Well, that's never going to $4 again, is it?
Never say never.
It really looks good now, though, don't it? So. Okay, any other discussion on this?
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, I'd just like to add that for the last 2 years, Ultra Unlimited, well, actually, they've had the contract the last 3 years. The last 2 years has been at the $33.50 price. Sharon Bell has offered to keep the price the same for this year and offered an extended contract proposal with a modest 1.5% increase for the next 3 years. So I think it's value to us to keep that relationship with that vendor who's done a very good job for us the past 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Trent.
We have, we need to.
Okay, all right, Trent seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion's passed. Shall we go up to number 1 on the employee policy manual with our attorney? Mr. Plato? Yes. Removal of this section, this is the ordinance that we had talked about?
Yes, just for clarification, I think there might have been some misunderstanding the last time. We have, in our policy manual, it has a section that provides for the pension plan, and we also have an ordinance that provides for the pension plan. The board needs to, by ordinance, repeal the prior ordinance that was passed in 1999, and I've drafted that ordinance repealing and sent that to you. As far as removing that section from the manual, that's a important motion to remove that, but that should be done in 2 separate actions. One motion to remove section 6.6 from the manual, and the other to a motion to approve the ordinance repealing the prior pension plan ordinance.
Is it on our emails? Did you send it to our email?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
Yes. I have another copy.
Yeah, I didn't pull it. are talking about the employee policy manual, removing section 6.6 by ordinance, and this is the ordinance number. So the ordinance number will be 2015-4-10-.03. So an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 1999-03-23-01, pension plan ordinance. Salem Township ordains the repeal of pension plan ordinance 1999-03-2301. On March 23rd, 1999, the Township Board of Salem Township adopted ordinance 1999-03-2301, referred to as the pension plan ordinance pursuant to Public Act 77 of 1989, for the purpose of establishing a pension plan program for the pensioning of its employees. Said ordinance, this ordinance right here, is hereby repealed and no further force or effect. This repeal does not affect or impair any right occurred or acquired prior to this repeal, which shall be effective immediately. Section 2 is the adoption. This ordinance was duly adopted by the Salem Township Board of Trustees at its regular meeting held on April 14th, 2015. The township clerk shall cause a notice of ordinance to repeal ordinance 1999-03-2301 to be published in a newspaper of general circulation within Salem Township within 15 days after this adoption. And this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon the adoption. Dale Wensley, Salem Township Clerk. And this is the clerk certification. I, Dale Wensley, the clerk for Salem Township, Washtenaw County of Michigan, do hereby certify that the foregoing is true and complete copy of the ordinance to repeal ordinance 1999-03-2301, adopted by the Salem Township Board of Trustees at a regular meeting held on April 14, 2015, by a majority of the board members present and voting. So do we have a second on this repeal of ordinance?
I will second it.
We should have a roll call.
Yeah, I said a roll call.
All right, roll call. Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker.
Yes. Okay, we move down to,
Mr. Supervisor?
Yep.
Just so we're clear, now the ordinance that was passed repeals the prior ordinance from 1999. To
Okay.
remove that section from the manual, section 6.6, you'll need a separate motion. Motion to approve striking that 6.6 from the employee manual.
All right. The second motion is to approve striking section 6.6 from the Employee Policies and Procedures Manual. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We'll go with Converse. And we'll do a roll call vote. Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker.
yes.
All right.
Okay, we're down to fire department and grievance settlement. Mr. Trent.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the recommendation of the bargaining committee to approve the attached resolution to settle MAF grievance 14-024 and add a clause specifying that the payment is subject to compliance with IRS and insurance regulations.
You have a second on that?
I'll support.
Mr. Supervisor, as the board will recall, I believe it was, if not last month, the month before, that the board rejected the grievance that had been submitted for our review. And as part of the union negotiation process, the bargaining committee took advantage of the opportunity to address this subject matter because both sides have recognized that the current language in the contract is deficient, needs to be reworked, and we have done some investigation pursuant to that particular section of the contract, which we will be reviewing with the union next week in our next union negotiation meeting. And we're fairly confident that we'll be able to resolve that to each side's mutual satisfaction. In regard to this grievance, as part of the change from what was submitted to the board previously, we had countered in the negotiation process as step 2 when it came to the supervisor to provide a payment of $100 a week. The grievant was still looking for $500 per week. We've offered a settlement of $190 a week, which we had initially been apprised was acceptable to the grievant. In further review with legal and accounting consultants, we thought it would be prudent to add the clause to this that says that this payment, which potentially could be taxable, needs to be compliant with IRS and insurance regulations. Before we process anything through payroll, we'll get further direction on that so that it is handled appropriately. And once that clause is put in, pending board approval tonight, the supervisor could sign it, and then we would submit it to the union for them to sign off on it as well with that additional clause. If it's rejected by the union, then it would go to arbitration.
Once again, just to be clear on this, the amount, David, do you remember what it was? I mean, the contract, depending how you interpret it, which they're interpreting it, is $500 a week plus the workman's comp that he was receiving. Which, how many weeks was it? 33 weeks? 32 weeks?
33.
Well, our deputy clerk says that he received 32 weeks of workers' compensation payments.
Which was $525 a week?
Somewhere in that vicinity, yes.
So it was a total payout, whatever that adds up. Yeah. So that's what he's received in workman's comp. Then they brought this, that there was something in the contract that was approved in the past about this $500 thing. So that's where, we said, wait a minute, that's, enriching yourself. So that's where the problems come in. So if they are willing to take that, and then we negotiate that contract, because I'm sure that's not what that meant.
And the new language will rectify that issue and give us the appropriate insurance protections that are currently lacking today.
Any other questions on this? Just so we all understand.
And I would encourage the board to support this proposal. Let us get this resolved and let us move forward as the bargaining committee to resolve the contract with new
checked with legal counsel, that we have for the union contracts, and they did come back and say that, there's no guarantee of the unjust enrichment versus what the actual language of the contract, and it's kind of the eyes of the beholder, and it's this, or we possibly could be hit with another, basically $15,000–16,000. So, that's one of the reasons why it's not a slam door if we go to arbitration.
Gary, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jim is at a accident in front of our house.
All right, I
Oh, you
heard the
heard
call
it.
out there,
Said
yeah.
it'd be a half an hour. We'll be there.
Okay, thank you. You weren't involved in it all, were you?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, that's thankful. There's been a lot here lately, it seems like.
To bring the helicopter in.
Okay, so, we have a second on this? Converse, and, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, Mr. Trent, on the bid to put the trucks, surplus trucks out there.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that Salem Township approve authorizing Fire Chief Rockwell to solicit bids for the disposal of surplus fire department vehicles, the F-150 vehicle number 96, and the mini pumper brush truck number 97.
I'll second it.
Before you, Mr. Trent, since the chief is not here, are we going to put another vehicle on this that possibly be getting rid of?
Yes.
Is it something we want to address now, or wait for him to come in?
I have no problem with waiting for the chief to be able to get back to the meeting. I know we were looking at doing a separate motion in regard to that one vehicle and tying it in with
All right,
getting another one.
then let's just do this and we'll do the other one. All right, sounds good. All right, we have a second on this? Winsley, any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's passed. Okay, to the warning siren, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Supervisor, instead of bringing an official motion for board action, let me just review the particulars of the background information tied in with this subject matter. And there's really no urgency to take action on it today, but it's something that I think it would be wise for the board to be aware of. I'd say about 6 months ago, Chief Rockwell was apprised that our friends in Ann Arbor Township were investigating installing outdoor warning sirens for their community. And they are looking at putting in 5 of those types of sirens in different portions of Ann Arbor Township. Any siren protection that they currently have is really based on what's in Superior Township. That might, go over to their side of the tracks. So they're looking at 5 different locations throughout their community. And one of the areas that they're focusing on is would be near our southwest corner, essentially the 4 corners of Ann Arbor Township, Northfield Township, Superior, and of course Salem. Everybody recognizes that that area is lightly populated, and the question obviously becomes is that, what's your return on investment? The issue that they're looking at is that they realize it's a low populated area, but the sirens are really for the benefit, according to their fire chief, for people that are doing outside activities. If you're inside your house, you may not hear a siren because of the insulation and the wind noise and things of that nature. So to a certain extent, the number 1 priority is to alert people that are outside that you need to get inside and take cover. And so they've targeted that area. They don't have a definitive location picked out yet, but it would be on the Ann Arbor Township side of the tracks, and it would service all 4 communities. Pending all 4 communities jumping on the bandwagon to say they would split the cost. So Ann Arbor Township is going to buy 4 sirens of their very own. They're looking for joint support for this additional siren that would be located near the 4 corners. The cost of one siren is $17,500. The cost for each community, if all 4 decide to participate, is $4,375, and with an annual maintenance cost of $500. So if all 4 participate, the annual maintenance cost is only $125 per year. So that's the background and that's what's driven this. The fire chief, after they acquired the quote from West Shore, which is the same company that monitors our sirens here from the township, submitted their quote to those folks here recently, and it's been passed on for our review. And at this juncture, Ann Arbor Township has not gotten any definitive response from the other communities. Everybody has said, yeah, well, we're willing to take a look at it, so right now, we're just in the looking at it stage. But I wanted to bring it to the table so that you're aware of this opportunity for us to collaborate with our neighbors if we deem that it's something that's in the best interest for the public safety and welfare of our community.
I think it'd be a good, Mr. Stewart lives right on the corner. Gotta make sure we protect him.
Are they looking for our definitive answer? Do you think we should vote on it anyway, or?
Well, and that's why I wanted to, preface making the motion to at least just update you on this is where we're at. It's still in the preliminary stages. If what potentially could fall out from this is, let's say just for discussion, that only Ann Arbor Township and ourselves are interested in pursuing this, then we're looking at doubling the cost. So that's the catch-22. I think it's priced right if all 4 participate. If only 2 of us participate, then the cost gets a little steeper, and obviously the annual maintenance cost increase as well.
So if we vote on it and just contingent on the rest of them vote?
And that's one way to
And
approach
we're in.
it,
If they're
Mr.
in, we're in.
Supervisor, sure, yeah. If all 4 are willing to participate, we're willing to take that step forward so that maybe that will help encourage the other communities to do likewise.
And it would be depending on too, where they actually would put it.
Well, right now, Ann Arbor Township is volunteering to put it on their side of the tracks.
Right on the corner?
Well, somewhere in that vicinity. They don't have an exact location picked out yet. That would partly depend on how many communities decide to participate.
Right. Okay.
So if there's some general consensus that we should move forward contingent on the other communities participating, I'll tweak this accordingly then.
Okay. Yeah.
I move that Salem Township approve the joint purchase of an outdoor warning siren with the communities of Ann Arbor Township, Superior Township, and Northville Township at a cost of $4,375, plus an annual maintenance fee of $125 for the attached bid from West Shore Services. The siren would be located in Ann Arbor Township, near Dixboro and Joy Roads. This approval is conditional, subject to all 4 communities participating in the project. I forgot I already included that.
There we go.
And would be expense in their cost center 980 capital expenditures.
I'll second it. Any other discussion on this?
When would we know? I would say probably within the next month or 2, especially since we're taking the lead and moving it forward. Ann Arbor Township is already committed to it. They've already budgeted 5 sirens for this coming fiscal year. And obviously, they're just looking for the other communities to help with this one that would benefit all 4 townships.
I think it's great, safety issue.
And the current ones we have in our township currently would be Northville Crossing and then one over here. That's the only two that we have. That's correct. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed. Okay, we have all the reports submitted, and now we're down to board discussion. The Mueller House remodel. We kind of brought this up maybe about a year ago or a year and a half ago or whatever. And actually, just nothing really has been done about it. And talking to trustee Daniel is showed an interest to help with this project to maybe make it move forward. And the idea behind this is most of you know that our state police are in the Ryder House across the street, across the parking lot here. And the idea is to renovate the Mueller House, which is the house right next door to the park, the brown house there, to maybe, to update that and to give it a little facelift and move the state police over to there, which would be more of the cars being more present on 6 Mile instead of back here in the parking lot. Kind of free up some of our parking and then also enable us to have the office space back in the, for the township. So that's kind of what we're talking about doing. There's a lot of, things that you have to consider as far as backup power over there, internet service. The state police are willing to do that if it's fixed up, right? So we have already talked to them about it, so they're willing to do it, so. That's a project that I think that we should consider doing again. There's our offices, if you come here during the day, you can see that they're filled. Our assessor didn't have one, so actually I don't have an office, not that I really need an office, but people can meet here. We have a conference room. It's really hard to meet with people here to talk. There's just really no place to meet when people come in. So I think it'd be good for us to have it, or maybe shift some stuff around here to bring the Ryder House back in to where our, for the employees and people that come by.
Sure, if I could add
Yep.
a few words here. What precipitated this was a request from one of our residents in regards to carports for the vehicles. But since we're selling the vehicles, there's no, it's kind of a temporary type solution, and so looking at it in a larger scale of things, what can we do to upgrade? As you mentioned, we need offices, and what can we do to juggle things to get more room? And so, as far as I'm concerned, I support this.
We've asked a couple people free of charge. They've actually had a little facelift of the house over there, but it does kind of need quite a bit of work.
Also, with the police right on the mile road here, it gives a lot of visibility to the township in terms of protection for our residents. People driving through and, people who would have bad intentions, going for the neighborhood and then they see the police cars parked, et cetera. Right now, they're kind of hidden off the road. That would kind of serve as a deterrent.
All right, any other questions on this? So, John, we're looking to you to spearhead this, and be looking forward to see something happen with that, so.
No problem.
I think it'll be a great asset.
Do you know what all would have to be done to, say, the interior?
Yeah, the interior mainly, I think, can be painted. I'm not sure that the water softener works in there anymore. real sure about the furnace. But the idea for it, just to leave that thing sit, it's been sitting there for years and nobody's done nothing with it. So I think we need to do something with it, and we're gonna need some space, and we really do need to utilize that Ryder House. So anyway, we'll be bringing more stuff back about it, and I'm sure there's a number of people who would like to work with you, John, on this project to see that done. Okay. All right, anything else on that? And our next item is about painting and carpet at the town hall here. We want to, we have some bids that are in, and they're all pretty close, and I think during this month, we got election coming in May, and right after that election, we would like to figure out about the painting and the carpet. Other things, O'Neill brought up the windows, that could be something that we need to look at, and also, we do need some new doors out here that have been around forever. Handicap accessible with, you can push it there, so we're getting bids and on them for the doors here coming in and stuff. The concrete out there is, if you've seen, there's a big tripping thing, which is something that needs to be addressed also. It's kind of coming back now as it's getting warmer, it's getting more level out there, but we need to address that, so we need to fix it up a little bit. Any more questions on that? So we hope to report to you at the next meeting on it, as far as the painting and the carpeting and when this thing can get started. All right, and then we're down to about the Flag Day. Veterans Day. Or the Veterans recognition about Flag Day.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I asked to have that item put on the agenda for board discussion 3 years ago, partly because of the relocation of our Veterans Monument that used to be located just past this wall of the Township Hall. It was moved to the park to be in a more prominent location on our campus. And that seemed to set a tradition over the last couple of years of partnering with our friends from Salem Community Events who sponsor the parade to allow us to piggyback on their efforts and have a short program in recognition of veterans that has happened subsequently since 2012. And because of some recent events in the last couple of months, things I've seen on the news, personal relatives of mine who served in World War II, and the fact that this happens to be the 70th year anniversary of the conclusion of World War II. And when you do the math, we recognize that people that served during World War II, if they lied about their age and they got in early, they might have been 15 or 16 when they entered that war. But most of those veterans are 90 and older. And we know that statistically, many of those people are dying, and they're not going to be around too much longer. And I thought it might be something that we could have some dialogue with our friends from Salem Community Events and see if we could take a special focus and recognize our World War II veterans this Flag Day. And maybe look at recognizing other veterans from other wars, in subsequent years, and maybe have a 3 or 4 year window where we specifically target and recognize each group of veterans from World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, and so on. And part of the reason that I wanted to bring this up is that next month we're looking at sending out our spring newsletter. And I think there's no better vehicle from a communication standpoint that we could get the feedback from the community to let them know that this is something that we're investigating, that we're looking at doing, and get the feedback so that we know how many folks in Salem Township are World War II veterans. at this point, I only know of one, but there could be a handful more. And I think before they're gone, this is maybe our last opportunity to take the time and effort to recognize their service to our country 70 years ago. And so I wanted to throw it out on the table to see what you as a board thought, and if we can appoint somebody to be the interface and dialogue with our friends from Salem Community Events to see if we can orchestrate such a thing and make that happen, not only this year, but maybe look at those other significant war events subsequent to that in future years to follow.
I think, Mr. Trent, you can talk to the Salem Community Events.
I'd be happy to volunteer to have that dialogue. And again, this is nothing where we as the township are trying to overtake, what happens on Flag Day, but we've had a good working relationship with them the last few years as we've partnered with these different activities that happen on Flag Day. And if they want to take the lead and incorporate that into the program, that's great. If they want us to, have an active role this year, then that's fine too. And when I say we, that could be anybody on this board or somebody that's designated from Salem Community Events to help spearhead that effort and be the master of ceremonies for that.
Okay. All right. Before, I just want to ask the attorney a few questions on Salem Springs. Actually, why don't we just address this now, and then we'll go to the fire chief. I didn't know yet.
I didn't know if you wanted to get back to the motion on the other surplus vehicles, or?
Yeah, well, we can, we'll go back to, what I'd like to do now, Ed, is maybe just kind of give us somewhat a brief update. I know Jim's, some people have talked about, just kind of give anything new. Linda, do you mind repeating your question before, if I could
There
have
was
you?
a meeting on March 26th out of Washtenaw County with government officials and staff, and apparently, Mr. Plato, you represented me. I don't remember voting for you, but apparently you represented me out there. I'm concerned because the county was asked to put up their full faith and credit for bonds for infrastructure in the USD. The county won't put their full faith and credit forward until Salem has put their full faith and credit forward. So my question is, what was discussed at the meeting? What was determined at the meeting? And at what time did someone determine that Salem's full faith and credit would be put for these bonds and the taxpayers potentially put at risk? Because I understand all the developers offering is a letter of credit, which is only good at this point in time. The assets from the LLC can be given to someone else. The LLC can go bankrupt, and the letter of credit has no value, and then Salem Township is back in the position of Sylvan Township.
To answer your question, the meeting that was held last month with representatives of the county, unfortunately I was unable to attend. Jerry Fisher represented the township at that meeting, and that was simply a meeting with the water drain commissioner and a couple of the commissioners, the county commissioners, Dan Smith being one, to see if there might be an interest on behalf of the county in issuing bonds for the public water and sewer. It was simply an introductory meeting, just, as I said, to explore that possibility. The drain commissioner initially had indicated that he was very interested in that idea. I think some of the commissioners seem to be opposed to that idea. So, but it's just part of our ongoing effort to explore all possible avenues for financing. Obviously, we want to bring public water and sewer into the USD. We're trying to determine the best way to do that. One way is, of course, through the issuing of bonds to fund part of the project, either through the county or through the township itself. So this was just an initial meeting to explore the possibility of seeing what the county may be willing to be involved, and whether they would be willing to issue bonds for the project.
What was the county's position?
Well, the county, these were representatives, as I said, it was the drain commissioner and I think two other commissioners, and they really can't speak for the entire, for the board, but they, the commissioner commissioners seem to be negative and the drain commissioners seem to be on the positive. So as it stands right now, it looks like they're probably not interested in issuing bonds for the project.
Thank you.
So no board member attended that meeting also, correct?
No, I was aware of it. I was out of town, but I knew what was going on. Again, as always, with Salem Springs or whoever over there, is we need to do our due diligence to make sure when they come to us that we're not stalling or doing something. We need to know the avenue. I believe in some of the development agreements, it does say, that we are to be involved in that if they decide to develop, that we need to do our due diligence to make sure it's available and how it's gonna be done.
Correct.
And we need to make sure, however it is, that we do our best way to protect ourselves. So that's basically what it was.
Absolutely. And we will be having, as it turns out, I wish I knew more for this meeting, but we're having meetings later this week with the township engineers to further talk about water and sewer for the urban service district. And we're having further meetings with the developer later this week to talk about the pending litigation that's in the Court of Appeals and possible ways to resolve that. So there's a continuing exchange of information back and forth, possible ways to resolve it. Nothing has been finalized, and at that time, when something is, when something is put down in the form of a resolution, it will obviously be brought back to the board. It will be presented to the board, the public will be made aware of it, the board will vote on it, and we'll proceed from there. But at this point, nothing is solidified, there's nothing etched in stone, the township hasn't committed to anything, developer hasn't committed to anything, so everything at this point is still in the exploratory stages and discussion stages.
One follow-up question, when Mr. Fisher was here and we first raised the issue about being concerned that we not become Sylvan Township and be taxed at 4.4 additional mills to pay for this like they are in Sylvan Township, he told us that he was talking to other property owners in the USD. Is that still a true statement?
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
We have talked to other property owners in USD. I mean, obviously besides the Showstack Group. I think we have representation now of approximately 90% of the USD that we've spoken to.
You're talking 90% by area?
By acreage, yes.
Thank you.
Could I ask you a question, please? I understand that these, now you call it USP, you used to call it PUD, but,
No, it's a different thing, that's totally different.
well, all right, that area in question, that if a developer wanted to develop that, sewage and water was gonna be up to them. AKA Johnson Controls. They wanted to put their headquarters over there, but because Salem was not willing to give them that money, because of our master plan, and Washtenaw County wasn't, they dragged their heels and eventually moved out of there. What is the take on our township? Are we willing to fund some, the money wise, or the county for that matter, you would know that better than me. I agreed with the master plan that Pennington set up a long time ago. I thought it was beautiful. You wanna come in here? You can come in here, but you're gonna pay to come in. You're not gonna make the township pay for it. You're not gonna make the county pay for it. You wanna come in here, you pay for it. But there's been a lot of silly stuff going on, and I just wanna know what our situation is now.
Well, you're right, unfortunately, there has been a lot of silly stuff going on, including litigation that went on and arbitration proceedings that went on for years. And even though our master plan calls for there to be public water and sewer in the urban service district, the Salem Springs Development Group took us through years of arbitration, and even though we had a written development agreement on 2 parcels saying that it was going to be public water and sewer, the arbitrators said that because of the economic conditions of the state at the time, that they were not required to put in public water and sewer. So we can, even though though we have it in our master plan, there's no guarantee there's gonna be public water and sewer. But we now have, as I said, the majority of landowners in the urban service district that are interested in bringing in water from Detroit Water and Sewer and using the Yucca services for the sewer system. And they're willing to finance that. Now, obviously, they're not willing to put up all the cash to pay for that. And it's in the township's interest to get those utilities in here. So we're trying to figure out ways to finance that we're not gonna put the township at any risk. One of those ways is through bonding, through letters of credit, through letters of surety. Obviously, their property is gonna be put up as security, but the value of their property would not be sufficient to cover the $20 million cost of bringing those utilities in. So we have to figure out how to make up that difference between the value of their properties, their undeveloped properties, and the ultimate debt that's gonna be incurred to put in utilities.
Where does this leave the township legally? Are we gonna be held responsible? I thought that was the whole thing about the master plan. You wanna build it, fine. You're gonna put in a sewage system, whatever, wherever it comes from, the city of Detroit, Ypsilanti, whatever. But the township will not be held responsible, or the county, for that matter, responsible. You wanna put it in, you pay for it. And the township and the county are not gonna pay for it. Has that changed?
No, they would be paying for it. One of the things that's being explored is the use of a special assessment district. So it wouldn't be, if you live outside the urban service district, you wouldn't be paying anything. But those property owners in the urban service district would get a special assessment where they would have to pay every month to pay down the payment on the debt payment on the bonds. Ultimately, they end up paying off everything.
Gary, just on, back on the Johnson Control issue back then, it's been quite a few years, but that's when they came in front of myself, as I was, I believe at the time, a planning commissioner. Water wasn't, Detroit wasn't giving up water for Johnson Control. They claimed they didn't have the capacity to give it to them. Yucca and Plymouth both didn't have sewer capacity at the time. And I think that was one of the negative downfalls for Johnson Control to pursue after any further than that.
Well, they did it, Johnson Controls, did they not drag that out a long time?
Oh, yeah.
And me and a lot of people that I know live here,
Sure.
we interpreted it as that they wanted the county or the township to pay for all that stuff. They were not willing to pay for it.
Right, but in
So
turn,
you're telling me that's not the case?
no, but in turn, it wasn't there for them regardless. If they were gonna pay or we were gonna pay, it wasn't there for them. Detroit wasn't giving up the water. They claimed they didn't have the volume or capacity to get to them at the time. I just wanted to say that because that was one of their downfalls, that they couldn't pursue what they wanted to do because they didn't have either, or regardless who was gonna pay for it.
A lot of crazy things too, just to add to it, that the township has had some issues with, is that they gave them, during some kind of arbitration that we were in, gave them to give them wells over there. That was the craziest thing ever. I mean, you don't want any high density over there with a bunch of wells and then people running out of water. And that's what the court ruled. That's what we were kind of left with. So at least now they're changing, things are changing now to where, look, we got it, if it's gonna come, it has to be.
And it will.
Detroit water, and it has to be done right, so.
As long as it's done responsibly, that's all I ask.
Right?
I agree with all that, thank you.
All right, any other questions on the USD or anything? We want to take the time to answer any questions. Okay, let's get back to the fire department. Mr. Rockwell?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just want a few things on the report and then just a couple other issues. We had 42 runs for the calls for the month of March. We had a structure fire that we were able to get to fairly quickly and save the structure. We had some high winds, and we've got folks that need to watch their outside burns. And this one, just a little bit of carelessness with some ashes, and the next thing you know, that their house is on fire. The thing that I want to report was on Salem Road, so we were on it pretty quick. and able to put it out before it actually made inside the structure, was burning the outside of the house. An interesting part was that I called for a board-up company, which our central dispatch maintains a round robin of approved vendors to do that. And lo and behold, a half an hour later, some person shows up at this property owner's house and said, "We're here to do the board-up company." Luckily, they called me and said that wasn't the one that was approved. So obviously, they're listening to our radio transmissions, and I will make changes to that so that that'll be not broadcasted, and make sure that the homeowner knows that we're sending an approved, with insurance and stuff like that. A number of communities have bought into, here's a pool of people, and we just round robin the next available board-up company that's already been approved, and basically it's how quick can you get out there in the middle of the night. So I caution folks that we're watching that from our side, from the fire department side, and I shared that with the other fire chiefs to make sure that it doesn't happen to them. The other thing is we had a brush fire off of 8 Mile, and in response to that was near the gas wells, and we had to go off-road to try to put that fire out. One of our smaller trucks got stuck in the mud, and its ability to try to unstick itself in four-wheel drive, it backed out of the hole that it created when it got stuck in the mud, and sideswiped a tree or hit a tree. Minor damage, relatively minor damage, but it's a 20-year-old truck, and the truck, I just got word that the insurance had totaled that vehicle because of the mileage and the years of the truck. Basically, corner panel and the rear taillight was damaged in it, and maybe we can talk a little bit after my discussion. The last thing, there's 2 more things that I'd like to talk about. We just had 2 high-speed collisions. My apologies for being late. That was why I was late. We survival flighted the person out. The other day we had another high-speed accident over there, I believe in Dixboro in North Territorial area. Seatbelts. You need the seatbelts. Folks need to wear seatbelts on them. Everything went well. Our department responded very well. We got very great support from HVA, very good support. They were there quickly, but there were traps. We had to cut them out of the vehicles to get them. And if you're reading the newspaper, I believe at least one of the patients, if not both, were pregnant in the last call that we had. Lastly, I want to recognize we had an individual that lives by himself and got hurt, and we had someone in the township check on that person. And thankfully, that person was able to check on them, because we don't know how long that person would have been down if they had not checked on that person. So it's very vital that if you live by yourself, you know, you could be in great health and you slip down the stairs and not able to get to a phone or something. It's important that we check on our neighbors. That's kind of what Salem's been about, it's about neighbors. And Bonnie, I really want to thank you for checking on your neighbors.
Excuse me, but I don't want to be involved in this, and I do have something to say how 911, how the fire department reacted and arrived.
So,
And if you'll give me, when he's done, I'll explain.
So, but again, checking on your neighbors is important. I've had a few calls where people have been down for a day or two because they couldn't get to a phone, so it's great that we have folks that check on people that live by themselves. So I recommend that, again, that people do that for our own residents, for our own citizens. Is that any questions or anything else on run call or anything?
Okay, and then how about our, on this truck?
Right, so,
Information on that?
yes, sir. So, we just got word today from our insurance company that they in fact did write the truck off because of the mileage. Our insurance policy covers total replacement for a new truck, not the replacement of a 20-year-old fire truck. So the insurance company has said that they'll approve a new truck or a replacement value of $44,000, $44,663. There will be a minus of $1,000 deductible for our insurance, and if we want to keep the vehicle to salvage parts, they would also deduct $100 of salvage rights. I would propose to the board if they would find it so kind, because we would have to reorder a new truck, which we should be able to do for that value because we would get the discount of the state or county prices. We would be able to purchase a new truck and equip it. It would actually be better because this was a 96 GMC 3/4 ton. We would propose a new full ton size truck with a crew cab to to allow 4 people to ride, handle the weight of the water and the skid that we have in there, so it'd be a great improvement. I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that it happened, but this is something that we use for off-road firefighting. As you can see, we use it quite a bit, and recently it's going to be used even more with these brush fires that we've had.
Okay. Then any discussion? I would recommend that we move forward and get this done. So you think by next month you can, I mean, do we already have estimates?
We do have 2 estimates from the state contract, one from GMC and one from Ford. They're both well within the price range of the $44,000. We've talked to both of the dealerships. For the vehicle we need is not in stock. It would take a 4 to 6 week delivery. So if you approve it today and we started to purchase it tomorrow, it'd still take us about a month and a half to get this vehicle here. So that's why, again, it's important, we use this a lot, that if we can get this approved tonight, we can get rolling on it and get a replacement vehicle for a truck that we use quite a bit.
The other question in the cab that is currently on the one, will that fit on this?
No, so again, the price would include the cost of a cap, which we would estimate to be $2,500 with the dealership they're telling us, because we need a high cap to put the skid in there.
Right.
So we've already got the mounts, the measurements, and sent to the dealership and said, yeah, you can do that, estimate $2,500. We literally got this estimate at 11 o'clock today, so we've been working on it the last couple days to try to come up with firm numbers. I'd be happy to work with any of the board members before we did a final purchase. But it'd be almost a like-for-like replacement from a 20-year-old truck to a 2015 truck.
Mr. Supervisor, the only question I have is, after the replacement cost, this cab, are there other things that need to be done to the vehicle, you know, the lighting and the
Correct.
striping and those things?
So we're in a ballpark of $33,000 for the vehicle, $2,500 for the cap. We've probably got another $2,000 to transfer the pump, probably another $1,000, $1,500 for transferring of lights and lettering. Figure another $2K. We're well under the $44,000 cap that the insurance would offer us. So that's my preliminary numbers, and that's why I'm comfortable that we could get, and probably actually put a few bucks back into the township for that.
Okay, so there's no additional cost over?
I'm not expecting what we're
Insurance.
seeing. Correct, sir.
Does the policy guarantee a dollar amount, or is it a replacement?
According to the insurance, it's the current replacement of that truck by today's value.
Okay, so it is a value replacement.
Yes, sir. And I've got that in writing too. I would have handed those out earlier to you had I had an opportunity before the meeting.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion on that to direct the chief to proceed with this. So do we want to add that to the bid list also, Jim?
Yes, I would hope the board would entertain to put that for sale as well. We were talking amongst the firefighters, we were thinking not only the bid list, but the Craigslist would also be a good place to get some robust bidding on those trucks. They're in pretty good shape, even the one that's damaged, because it's got 76,000 miles, it's 96. Someone's a little handy with some fender bender and a work, could probably put that back in operation.
Jim, is the truck that was in the accident, is it drivable still?
Yes, yeah, it just is broken rear tail light, left rear tail light, and a dent quarter panel. But because of the high mileage, the age of it, and it's just, you look at the Blue Book price, it's nothing.
All right, so we'll make a motion, first of all, for the replacement vehicle. So, make a motion to approve, a motion to direct the fire chief to proceed with the replacement vehicle per the insurance premium payout. Do we have have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion on this?
Do you wanna add that dollar amount to that motion, or
Yeah, the dollar amount
not
is,
to exceed, or?
Yeah. Per the insurance company, it's $44,063, less $1,000 and less $100, so it'd be minus 1,100.
okay, that's added to it. Yes. Anything else? And Converse seconds that? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's passed.
Thank you.
And then do we need to add this to make an amendment to the, other one, or to put this brush truck on to the bid policy? What is that,
David was the maker of it, and I seconded it. You wanna just add an amendment to that, David? And
Yes. What's that vehicle number for the,
So it'd be the, let's call it the 1996 GMC 4x4 pickup truck.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll move that we amend the previously approved motion and add the 1996 GMC pickup truck.
I'll second that.
all right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
Bonnie, go
Are
ahead.
you in public comment now?
No, but you wanted to say something, so.
I do.
Go ahead.
I have three things to say. First of all, I thought it was private information who was where and what in this township. Second of all, you did promise that all the information would be in the board packet as it was put together, and you guys wouldn't get any surprises at the table, and you did it again. And the third thing has to do with I'll wait till public comment comes along.
We felt that it was necessary to have a truck that is out of service, and to, it would, and let me finish, please. And I would like to, I encourage the chief, he came in today, the insurance report just came in today, and we would have this be done, it takes how long?
Takes 4 to 6 weeks depending which vehicle is purchased.
And if it wasn't done by this meeting, and I believe the board concurs that this is the right thing to do for public safety to get this truck back on the road.
We, who was the we?
The board.
The board didn't have a clue. They just looked, they're looking at you for how much the money is and what these things are going on.
You just got the insurance report.
Just this morning, and there's no reason why we shouldn't delay on this. Good job
Thank you.
for bringing it up. And, you know, this is about being constructive. It just happened. You got the information, you bring it up, that's the right thing to do. We talk about it and we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
Okay.
can I just make one, question, I guess? Would it be wise maybe to keep that one truck for backup if it's still drivable through this 4-week period, or?
Well, it's gonna be out of service because we have to pull all the radios out, we have to pull all the light bars, we have to pull all of the skid mount, so it'd be at the shop just to get that done.
I see.
So it's, unfortunately, that's the bad part, is we're gonna be short a truck, and that's really one of our lightest trucks, and it really is, as you're aware, we're a lot of fields out here, and, you know, we had a gentleman the other day, his tractor caught on fire in the middle of the field, and it was spreading towards his barn, and it would have been a real big challenge if they didn't have a driveway there, so
Okay.
I'd really like to get this as quicker.
I guess my concern was is for that same type
Yeah.
scenario, what do you have to back it
So
up?
our backup is Superior has a gator.
Okay, Yep.
My fire guys would love the department to get a gator.
I would love if you have a gator.
It has a nice 100-gallon tank on there. They got it on a grant. We get some space at the fire station, maybe we could talk about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, down to public comment.
Now it's my turn for public comment.
Okay.
I'm no longer, and haven't been for 2 years, a part of Flag Day. But I see that the World War II veterans are being honored. I wanna know, my husband's 70 and lifespan for a man is not much more than 80. He will be out of it pretty soon. Why isn't the Vietnam veterans? Why aren't the Korean veterans? They're all older. How about,
He said all.
all the
He
rest of
listed
them?
all the wars. He talked about all the wars.
It says World War II veterans. Now, when that was his reason, he said that he wanted, there's only 4 of them in town. Well, some of them have moved out, they haven't all died yet. But if you're gonna do that every year, it's gonna get redundant and people aren't even gonna stand around and watch. Thank you.
Okay. Dan?
Prior to the meeting here, we had an accident out in front of our house where a woman hit a couple trees, and it was pretty bad. And our fire chief was the first one there. Really a quick response. Our fire department, it's just amazing how professional they are. We got to watch it firsthand. And I mean, they called in for the helicopter, they put the lights down for the helicopter to land and directed the helicopter in. It was quite an amazing thing to see, and I just, for one, as a citizen, want to compliment our fire department and what a professional job they do.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, anyone else? Got some scouts here tonight, I'm gonna recognize them. Thanks for being here tonight. Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, have a great week, great month. Oh, we're going to closed session, that's right. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to wreck it, Dave. All right, Mr. Trent.
Let me just double check with Mr. Plato. Do we need a formal motion to go into closed session for union negotiations? Mr. Supervisor, I move that the Salem Township Board of Trustees go into closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act provisions that allow the board to go into closed session to provide an update to the board on union negotiations and invite members of the bargaining committee, which would include Chief Rockwell and Dan Lavieri, to participate.
That's seconding.
Need a roll call vote?
Yes. Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Wensley's yes, and Baker.
Yes. Okay. Take about a 15-minute break, and we'll come back. So, thanks for being here tonight, folks.